Well, here we are, riffing while black. Here, I'm Dr. Ezekiel Prince with, you want to introduce yourself again, Dr. Helm?
Dr. Kathy Helm.
Good to see you. How you doing today?
I'm okay. How are you doing today?
Oh, we talked a little bit earlier, but today's been a rough day, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. Uh, a rough day, but a blessed day as usual. But we have so much to talk about today, and to be honest, it just makes things kind of weird. But we see, we've been talking about having a consistent topic based on your expertise around sex education and sexual health. And so we're going to talk about sex topic around why couples don't directly ask for sex.
Mhm.
We'll get to that eventually. And then we want to talk about the TikTok toast lady talking
Wish I
crap
had
about.
so I could mimic that. I could get
and,
one if it would make it more, realistic. I could go grab a piece.
she was talking crap. If you haven't heard about it, we'll talk about it later. But she was talking crap about people on food stamps. Let's talk also about the Trump tearing up the White House. Come on, tearing up the White House, tearing it up, just doing whatever he wants. And then if we hopefully we'll have time. We're gonna actually talk about the top 5 relationship problems.
Mhm.
Hopefully, it'll resonate with a lot of folks. And then lastly, our side eye is more than a side eye. It's all kinds of stuff. But the government shutdown and the snap, which is
Mhm.
coming up actually this weekend. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we got a lot. We got a lot.
We do.
But
We do.
before we get to those topics, I wanted to get to our Djembe card today. And I asked Dr. Helm give me a privilege to do a card that we've actually done recently, but want to do again today. And it's someone who loved you into being is blank. Someone who loved you into being is blank. And I wanted to do that one today because if I can do this without getting too emotional. But today, this morning, my grandmother, who her name is Frances Prince, based out of Fifth Ward, Houston, Texas, who has been around my entire life. Unfortunately, she passed away this morning. And I want to just talk about her a little bit, just to kind of honor her, because every time I see someone who talks crap about Black women and Black people, I think about my grandmother. And not just my one grandmother, but all my grandmothers, my mom, my aunts, but particularly her today because she was a very strong influence in my life. She was someone who noticed me despite my quiet ways when I was younger. I'd be hiding in the corner trying to be invisible, but she always seemed to notice me. And this is from a family of, well, she had 9 children. On average, they had about 5 or 6 kids per person. So to be able to still be seen by her and noticed and loved by her unconditionally um, was something very special. And so losing her today this morning has really been hard on our family. But I'm reminded of how much she loved me into being and all the things she did for me, despite having a large family, despite sometimes wanting to be invisible. But she always noticed me and recognized me and loved me. And so thanks. And I'll be thinking about her over the next several days.
She sounds like an incredible human being.
Yeah, 4'11" and all kinds of power.
Give me 2 of her expressions.
You know, she always every time I saw her, she was 4'11". So every time she saw me, she asked me, "Are you still growing?" And typically when I was in college, but even up until now, it says, "Are you eating?"
Are you reading?
Oh, I should replace that with, "What church are you going to? Are
Okay.
you going to church?"
So she wanted to make sure that you weren't still growing, that you were eating and you were getting your spiritual grace on.
Yes, yes, yeah. This is a woman who went to a church that was started by her mother, and they did all kinds of things coming out of a really small town in Louisiana, coming to this big city, Houston,
Yeah.
doing what they were trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure she was proud of you and all of her children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren. You said she was 105.
105, 105. Yeah, she had all the layers.
Yeah. 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 Well, prayers go out. Love goes out to you and your family, KP.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I wanted to make sure to give you opportunity if that's something you still wanted to do. Someone who loved you into being.
It's still my parents. I mean, what I will say is, I mean, both figuratively and literally, they did, and I guess what I would say about that is I have the pleasure of working with many, many clients, some of whom have not had good parents, right? Which leaves people with a lifetime of struggle oftentimes, and so I'm profoundly grateful for the fact that I did. Yes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Even though they are not here, they have still they are not here with me, but they are still loved me into existence, and I feel their presence consistently.
I love that story you told your about your dad last week about birth control. I still think about that.
Yeah,
That's
I didn't
pretty
you know
good.
what? So I have, my parents were teachers, they were educators, they were, Chicago public school teachers, and my dad was also a school counselor and, principal. I got lots of sex stories about my parents because they wanted to take an educated approach to teaching us about those things, so they came with books and knowledge, and I can tell stories about how I abused that.
Beautiful, beautiful. So,
Yes, yes.
which one's one of these topics we want to go to? I'm not sure if we'll get to all of them, but we'll if we don't get to it, we'll definitely do it next week. But you want to do the sex topic about couples who don't ask for sex, or you want to do the 5 relationship problems?
You know what? Since I'm talking about sex, I'm gonna tell a personal story and then I'm gonna get into that topic. So here, since I dropped a little bit. So I was a black swimmer. It existed even in the 80s. Yep, early 80s. And I would tell my friends as my mom was driving the carpool, I'd be like this, watch this, watch this. And I'd be like, Mom, tell me about the fallopian tubes. And so she would go into a lecture, right? And then one day I tried that same stuff on my dad. Mhm. And my dad, and I don't even know if I could say what he said on this here podcast because it's so
You
grossly
can. You
inappropriate.
can say it.
He said, Catherine, which always meant I was in trouble. Catherine, we have told you about sex. We have told you about fallopian tube. We have told you all the proper names. You don't want to know about sex. You want to know about effing. You want to know about balls and this and that. And he used every inappropriate term. You want to know about balls and this and blah, blah, blah. That's what you want to know about. And I was like this. And he was probably right. And I never asked again because he's like, "Oh, no, we've told you about all of these things. We took the educated approach. You want the guttural approach. So let me help you out." And then I never asked again. So there you go. So it's any wonder I became a human sexuality educator. On to our topic for the day. Couples, did you know, KP? Did you know? I know that story. That gives you a whole sense of who my dad was.
I'm like, hey, it worked.
I was like, I'm gonna shut the hell up now. I'm not gonna ask you a question. Did you know that most couples do not directly ask their partners for sex?
Yes, but it disturbs me. It disturbs me in so many ways because it disturbs me because I know it's true. I know
It's
I've
true.
experienced myself when I was married, even in my
Mhm.
relationships since then. There's this
Yes.
awkwardness about, yo, can I get me some?
Yeah, yeah. So why do you think that is?
I think partly I'll speak for myself. There's still sometimes awkwardness, especially if in a new relationship, but even in an established relationship, there's a part of you that doesn't want to be routine, and there's a part of you that's a little scared, and maybe are they wanting it like you do right now? Because right now I really want it, and you don't want to be told no.
Yep.
So there's that fear and anxiety a little bit. If you already had a pretty rough day and you've kind of seen that they're having a rough day, but you're like, I really would like to have some right now, and you're like, damn, we're not lying. If the last time we had sex didn't go so well, there's like, I don't know. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of reasons why, I guess.
there are. And the number one reason is that people don't want to be rejected. So here's what research shows that couples develop their own language around sex. So here's an example of that. If someone's like, I'm gonna go upstairs, I'm gonna take a shower. And the other person is like, I'll meet you up there in a minute. That means there'll be sex. If that person's like, "I'm gonna go upstairs and take a shower," and the other person's like, "I'm gonna watch this game right here," that means no sex. And so couples create, and it's not that no couple ever directly asks for sex, but a lot of times they don't, right? Because there's fear being rejected, shame at being rejected, right? And so I think one of the reasons why I became a human sexuality educator years ago was because it's not about the act itself, right? It's about all of the social, gender, cultural, spiritual, religious norms that we bring to it, and each generation thinks that they're the one who invented sex. Somehow their parents and grandparents did not, and it becomes nasty as people get older, right? So there are all these really interesting kind of cultural variables around sex, and one of them is that couples develop their own language and non-language about asking for sex. Even though if someone is like, "No," even if you haven't directly asked for it, it's still a no. So you're not really still we're not doing it. So I don't know, but it is interesting. So most couples, for that reason, do not directly ask for sex.
Yeah, you remind me of a scene from a movie where anytime the wife put her mouth guard or whatever and put her thing on top of her head, it was like absolutely no way we're having sex. Because first of all, I don't want to look at that mouth guard. And what you gonna do? How you gonna do anything with a mouth guard?
Well,
And then why you got that
maybe that's
bun
what
on?
people think though. Maybe they like the mouth car.
First of all, mouth guard is impeding what I want you to be doing in
Right?
about 5 minutes. So let's just talk about that. And then when you take it out, you drooling all over the place. Come on now, we know what's up. I mean, I really love what you're saying because there is like a code, uncoded communication about what's going to happen, what's not going
Yeah,
to happen, and
that's
I've
right.
seen them all. I feel like I've seen
Yeah.
them all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But instead, like, as we teach our children about consent and as we sort of are aware of consent, really, you should directly ask, really, and wait to receive a direct answer. But human beings don't do that. Nope, we don't do it. Nope.
No, and you know what's funny? I learned from this guy. He was a white dude out of Milwaukee, and this is actually around sexual assault that he did training on called "Can I Kiss You?"
Okay.
And what it basically taught was instead of people kind of hemming and hawing around the subject around sex or just kissing someone, it was better to have a conversation about it and to actually ask, "Hey, can I kiss you?" And so,
Yeah.
and I'm not there's all kinds of ways of doing it that hopefully don't come off too nerdy, but just, being able to have the conversation actually is a plus over the kind of the Spock mind meld situation people use, but the actual conversation can actually be pretty sexy if you do it in a way that's,
People are not having the conversation. So we're not having conversations about birth control. We're not having conversations about can I kiss you, right? We're not having those conversations. Young people are having those conversations, older people, and some of it's because we haven't been taught how to have those conversations. And I thought, what like the stigma around sex makes people feel vulnerable. So we deal with it by not stating what's real for us without being honest, without having conversations, right? And it seems like, our sexual development in some ways is stuck in time from
it
50 years ago because we can't talk about it.
It's true. I mean, what you made me think about was a woman who I was kinda into, and we basically had chosen not to do much of anything, and then the day she was like, "You know what? I wanna do this." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. That's cool." Well, and I was, like, about to engage in a conversation. She goes, "No, I don't wanna talk about it. I just wanna do it." I'm like, "Okay, that's aggressive."
He said,
But
well, you like, that's too much, girl. That's too
I
much.
mean I mean I mean, maybe I'm more of a communicative kind of person, but I'm ready to do all the talk. Well,
She
now that
was
you've
she
gotten
was
permission to do
ready.
it,
That's
let's
she
go on and
brought
talk
them
about it.
words. No, she
Yeah,
was ready.
let's warm up, let's ramp it up, And she's like, "Nah,
She
I
said,
just wanna
"Words
show
get in
up."
the way." The words get in the way, that's what she said.
Apparently, she's like, "'Cause I don't want you to say nothing stupid."
And ruin the mood. But you know what? I don't know this woman, but I will say there's nothing worse when you're like, "Yes," as your partner says something stupid that ruins the mood. So, I don't know. I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying there's nothing and you're just like, "Man, this little cute lingerie I got, I'm taking it off." No.
Well, it's funny how even when you have 2 people who are willing to talk about how things still can go awry. I was with this woman one time, and it was going fine, but it got chilly, right? And so instead of keeping her little lingerie outfit on, she put some jeans on and then put a coat on, and she goes, "I was trying to be sexy for you, but" I'm like, "Oh, look at you with your little lingerie with jeans on. Hey."
And she was like, "Did you see? Good, because 'cause I'm cold now, and it's uncomfortable, and I'm going to choose my comfort." over the visual.
It's just well, it just speaks to the complication. Even under the better circumstances, when you have people who are willing to talk about it, it can still be awkward and weird, and there's not a simple science to it. But you definitely have to be willing to, because I think
You
in
do.
the long term, even when there's times where you probably should shut up, knowing the difference between that and when to speak up, if it's done well and there's a rhythm to it and there's a good relationship, man, the quality of your experience can be so much increased. But
It's
unfortunately,
true.
people are kinda like robots, and they just don't know what to say, and
And
it's
well, so they don't
awkward.
say anything. Exactly. And this even goes to, like, when sex doesn't feel good, right? Or
Yes.
somebody doesn't really wanna do it, like, we're not having conversations about these things. So, that's kinda outside of today's podcast, but, we're gonna be doing a sex topic on every podcast, right? Because who doesn't wanna talk about sex and learn about sex? So, we can see how that impacts your sex life. But, people are not having the conversations they should have. But if you wanna know how to get better, you get better by having the conversations and by doing it with a trusted partner. I mean, that's the long and short of it.
Yeah, long and short, but definitely having it and not being building the courage to have the conversation in a way that seems to work well, right? And it does, and like you said, it takes some vulnerability and some
Yeah,
risk taking on our parts, and not, punishing people if they don't get it quite right the first time.
that's a whole other story. Hey, so we write that down as next week topic, punishing sex. Alright, yeah.
Got it. Got it. Well, hey, you wanna go into, the top 5 relationship challenges? This might be number
Top
1.
5 relationship challenges. Okay, so our listeners know that I am an individual therapist, but also couples therapist, and I see quite a bit of couples. And some of the top 5 things that couples argue about or that causes problems in their relationship. Are you ready? Do you wanna
Yeah, I'm
guess?
ready.
Do you wanna Okay, go ahead, why don't you guess?
I don't know if I wanna guess. I mean, not I mean, definitely, I would say money is usually one of the big ones, right? Right? Poor communication is probably another one of my guesses.
That's not on
Kind
the
of
list.
a
Okay.
okay. I'll give you one more guess.
Okay.
Money.
You said money.
That's that money because it's in there 2,
It's in
2, 3
there.
times all the
Yes.
time. Kids, how to discipline kids. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Work, how to manage work expectations. That's my other guess. Yeah, 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 yeah. But that's not that's I don't know. Yeah, values. Values in tell me more about the time spent because you and I both know that quality time is usually one of the 5 easy kind of thing people go the 5 love languages, and quality time comes up a lot, right? Because it's one of the 5 languages, but there's a lot of people who don't prioritize quality time. It's kind of like some kind of low, and for others it's much higher. And so I'm glad to hear that's on there on the list. Say more. Yes, quality. It's getting neglected for real. Right, and it's always a funny thing around spending time because, like you said, it's are you a homebody? You like to be out and about or not? And then where are you willing to make compromises, right? Because and how much of is too much of a compromise? Because, like you said, I may not be a big party person, but I know you like to go out, and so I'm gonna go out with you this time. But you know what? Next week I'm not. Just those compromises. It's funny you say that was because one of the things I remember my ex wife people, again, because of how things are early in the relationship, you spend a lot of time with each other. So she would come. One time she came to me. She goes, "Hey, I'm gonna go out with my girlfriends, and I hope you're okay with that." And I learned relatively quickly. I said, it made a whole lot more sense to be like, "Yo, go do your thing, baby, because when you come home, we gonna be happy together." Because she's in such a good mood, she has a great attitude, she had a great time with her girlfriends, and so when she comes home to me, I'm like, "Hey, baby, let's do this." It might be 3 o'clock in the morning, you might have to come wake me up, but please wake me up. Yes, yes. Yeah. Well, the other thing you mentioned was, I guess, the chores around the house. It comes up. Good Lord Jesus. If I haven't heard a woman say, I just need a man who's going to take out the garbage without me asking. Well, there are many a son who blame, who, when they do get with someone, they blame the mama for making them the way they are. So you may not want to butter their toast too much longer. Well, let me ask you this one thing before we get off this topic because I think it's great. I have a homeboy, and his wife is in some ways kind of traditional. She likes to keep the house clean, cook all the meals, kind of treat him a little bit kind of like a little king, right? But then when he gets up to kind of start cleaning and doing some stuff, she's like, "No, no, 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 don't do that because you don't do it right." And then he's like, "Well, if you don't let me help or let me do my part, and matter of fact, not just me, the kids do their part because they're older. Why what she does as a result, according to him, is she's like refuses to let them help. But then later on, she's upset and frustrated because she's feeling overwhelmed. Yeah, 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 yeah. Right. Now, of course, some people's solution to what you just described is he needs to clean better. Yeah, I'll go get it. I love that. I love that. I love that. Well, we got a little time. I wanted to fit in this nonsense that we're dealing with. One, before we get to it, I'm glad that we are having this conversation because I think there's so much around this, around relationships, but also particularly around sex that we'll have more conversations about. But I do want to get to this conversation around Trump fucking up the White House, Eastern, is it the Eastern wing or Western wing? I forget. One of those wings. Eastern wing. Well, there's a couple of theories out there. I don't know if they're conspiracy theories or real theories, but some people believe this is the same MO that Hitler. Now, when people hear Hitler and Nazis and they immediately kind of shut down. But a point that people are making is that these are the kinds of activities people who want to kind of be dictator like or authoritarian like they make. Because what he's doing right now is taking donations from billionaires to pay for these renovations and the development of the ballroom that's supposed to be this huge grand thing. And it, to me personally, feels very out of Say again? Well, he's breaking all the rules to do it, right? He's fired everyone on the committee who's responsible for advising him and the other parts of the government about what things should look like, and basically saying, "Hey, I'm gonna do what the hell I want, and I don't need your help." And then he's getting all these billionaires to put in millions and millions of dollars for these renovations, and it's not right because what do they call the White House? They call it the People's House. And what they do? They say, "Well, Barack Obama built a basketball gym." I'm like, that pales in comparison. And he didn't mess up the West or East or any wing in the White House. So whatever. Oh, and I think and I think what feels bad about it is because it's the people's house. Because we usually are involved, we meaning people who represent the community of folks, are involved with what things should look like, trying to make it more up to date. He's all neoclassical, old school nonsense. I'm like, bruh, what are you doing? So it's insane. And I'm a little inclined to believe it feels kinda like a little Hitlerish, little Nazi-ish, kind of whatever, so he can get his people to pay him and make it enrich himself and the people that he knows, and so which seems to be the end result of all of this, in my opinion. Let's cover one more thing since we are people who are getting on our damn nerves, is this TikTok toast lady who was talking shit about people on food stamps. Her name is Latasha. Latasha. Yes. Well, right. Well, and I feel like, first of all, mind your business. It's none of your business what I'm eating, not eating, what I spend my money on or not. And so what I'm on SNAP or whatever kind of food assistance because, this is the circumstance that we're in. But what they'll do is go find a video of someone who's, I need to eat and fulfills every stereotype they have of people who are on public assistance or welfare. And there's a few out there, but they're not the majority. Most people are struggling. They're going from paycheck to paycheck. They're using this a subsidy literally as it's described to subsidize so they won't starve. And that is the vast majority. Yep. People who work at Walmart. It's awful. Well, mind your business. Right, right, right. And I think the problem is that I think they're disconnected from reality, the reality of people who are definitely in need of these types of resources. And we're still the wealthiest country in the world. Why wouldn't we be doing these kinds of things? And so it just makes kind of no sense to me. We're running out of time, and so I want to skip our engagement card and get to our celebration card. If that's okay with you? Yes, Halloween. Make sure you don't hand out too much diabetes candy. Okay, folks, be loaded up on the sugar. Let me see here. Here we go. Compliment each. This is our celebration card. Compliment each player. Something I appreciate about you is blank. Something about you, Dr. Helm, is how one, we've been really good friends for a while and we've been doing this podcast together. But one thing I really appreciate you is your intellect, you're intellectual without being cold. You're so like connected emotionally. And so I've always appreciated about you because, you know, sometimes we psychologists can get really in our heads and that in our hearts. And so one of the things I like about you is how you stay in your heart. And it shows, I think, in our conversations that we have here today. Thank you. Well, our only side eye, and we kind of spent a lot of time on it today, was these fools who have the government shut down, particularly with SNAP. We're talking about 42 million families. 42 million families who are worried. I mean, they're literally telling stories. That's the good thing about social media. These folks are going on social media telling their stories about the loss, about how they're going without dinner for days so their kids can eat, how they're worried about where they're going to find meals. We're seeing stories, you're probably seeing it in Chicago, but I'm seeing it here in Austin and across the country. Families standing in for hours sometimes to get food from the food banks. And the good thing is I heard here in Austin, there's the darling of grocery stores is HEB. And HEB has decided to give millions of dollars to food banks to help with this because it wasn't just the people who are potentially who are on SNAP, right? It's government employees who lost their jobs. It's people who are being laid off from Amazon and other places who are worried about where their next meal is going to come from. So, I, I don't know. I definitely got so much side eye, but I think my neck is hurting from this. Lord have mercy, my neck is hurting for so much side eye. But it's there. You are. Sorry. It's all good. What were you saying? Yes, it is. Well, thank you so much. This is Riffing While Black with Dr. Helm and Dr. Prince making things happen. I'll see you next time. All right, then. Take care.